Ground ball to short, eaten up by Hodge, and that ends the first inning for South.
Curveball down in the zone.
Down goes Detillier. Runner goes and is safe. That's Morris sliding under the tag of Hodge. 2 down.
Goes right back to that rise ball, lowers it just a tad to be able to get Detillier to swing and miss through it. Strikeout and steal. Again, almost 200 stolen bases. He's playing their game early.
Well, you have to take advantage of your opportunities to get on base against Heavner. Well, on a first pitch strike to Sidney Schneider. Starting catcher in the cleanup spot. Heavner, top 5 in the NCAA in hits allowed per 7 innings. Less than 4 allowed by the freshman Heavner this year.
When she is throwing strikes, she's tough. Even had a perfect game earlier this season, early on in her freshman year. I mean, to think about what she looks like now as a freshman. What is she going to look like as a senior?
She had, as a freshman, the lowest opponent batting average in SEC play. League hitters managed a 163 average against Heavner during SEC games.
And that's SEC hitters.
The best of the best.
Goodness.
9 national seeds coming out of the Southeastern Conference this year, including LSU. Hitters count to Schneider. First-year JUCO transfer. Thought she drew a walk instead of full count on the strike on the inside corner. One strikeout in her last 96 at-bats. Heavner looking for her 3rd of the inning. Instead, a ground ball to short, eaten up by Hodge, and that ends the first inning for Southeastern. LSU picks up the bats at home when we return. Who has been among the best SEC hitters this year. Top 10 in the league in hits, on-base percentage, and the big area of growth this year, Amanda, walks. Coffey's 46 walks this year, 4th in LSU history. And Beth Torina told us she's been a big reason why at the top of the order this offense has flourished. Will beat it out on an infield single, perhaps, after the bobble by Chloe McGee at short.
It's swinging away a little bit more, Danica Coffey has, but does a good job of using the ground and what we call a high hop. That is the definition of it. Pound it into the ground, create that high hop. While the ball is in the air, you get down the line with a speed like Coffey.
Has 8 stolen bags this year as Jayla Lassiter digs in for the Tigers. Lassiter enjoying a career year at the plate after spending the last 2 seasons at Ole Miss. Flare in the right field and caught on the edge of the infield grass by Shelby Morris, 1 away. Macy Bajeron was one of a handful of Tiger players we had a chance to sit down with yesterday afternoon. And we asked her a number of questions about what it's like to play in this Bryce Neal offense. And she said it's freeing, Amanda, because of how much support there is around one another. If you can't get the job done at the plate, somebody else will behind you.
Yeah, and overall, this LSU offense have flattened out their swings. a little bit more this year compared to years past, just playing more into the ballpark that this Baton Rouge Tiger Park presents. Macy Bergeron has been a big beneficiary of some tweaks and changes and going about doing things a little bit differently. She talked about Bryce Neal freeing her up to also do some things mechanically a little bit differently by loading and perfecting her load every time. That's exactly what she told us, and you can see her start that load, the coil right there into her bottom half, but 2 to 3 drills that she says that she does almost every practice to keep that load in check, knowing how important it is for her to perfect it for her power.
Bergeron draws a 1-out walk. So 2 on for arguably the hottest hitter in this LSU lineup for the majority of the season in Tori Edwards. And what a year it has been for the freshman from Flower Mound, Texas.
And not only is Tori Edwards strong and powerful, Beth Torina called her the most prepared hitter that we have in the lineup. I mean, a ridiculous exit velocity, but she goes up with a plan.
Lines it into center field, right into the mid of Shanita Tucker. Runner will tag from second, and Coffey into third without a throw.
That ball just comes off of Tori Edwards' bat differently, and it's like she was just playing pepper with Shanita Tucker out there in center field. If you hit that anywhere else in the park, it's going to be extra bases, but hit it right at the center fielder, Tucker.
2 down, runners at the corners for Mackenzie Rudity. As a senior, batting a career best .316 at the plate. Swings at the first pitch, right to first base. Watson a tap of the bag, and LSU strands 2.
This team is just different. They play a different game, and they love it. They're all about it. Coach Rick Freeman really prides himself on creating all these different types of systems within their offense, pitching, and defense.
Credits his sister, Shantae, who actually played at LSU and was part of the first softball team ever at Louisiana State, for helping him develop the system that has turned championship team into championship team all along his 20-year journey as a collegiate head coach. It's a man who was actually a Hall of Fame quarterback at an NAIA school during his collegiate career, became a PE teacher at his old high school. Athletic director comes to him one day and says, "I'd like you to coach the softball team," and he said no. But with enough persistence, he finally relented, and the rest is history.
Turned Jackson State into a winning team with his wife, Elena Freeman, who coaches first base with him. They've coached together for 20 years now. And it's the same type of game from Jackson State to here, speed, speed, speed.
Third strikeout of the game, meanwhile, for Jaden Heavner. 1 down in the second.
Heavner can throw this curveball backdoor, meaning they can start in the left-handed batter's box and then cross over the outside corner. She can throw that curveball on both sides of the plate.
She has thrown 5 consecutive first pitch strikes. Maddie Watson to third. Coffey across the diamond, 2 down.
And every time this Southeastern Louisiana team has played Power 4 schools this year, it's been close games, Matt. I mean, talked about the history between them and LSU with a couple of walk-off losses, what, 1-run, 2-run losses the past couple of years to LSU and being right in it. But exact same thing happened this year when they took on Florida State, Texas A&M.
And as you mentioned, there are players on this roster who remember vividly the experience at the Tuscaloosa Regional a year ago, twice beating Clemson and once giving Alabama a run for its money. Colleen Cullivan was on that roster a year ago, the 3-year starter, who after spending 2 years in right field slid over to left this season, replacing one of the program greats in Kaylin Watson. And that was something that LSU head coach Beth Torina told us she respects so much about Southeastern. The players may change, but the system does not. And no matter who is wearing the jersey, they just seem to play with the same tenacity and grit and competitiveness.
Well, she knows she's always got to have a handful with them. They're not intimidated by the big schools. They're just from about 45 minutes away, so they get a good crowd, a lot of people on their side from TAM in America.
Again, they are a 10 seed despite having a top 10 RPI and a top 10 strength of schedule and another 40-win season. So you talk about being a little bit unlucky drawing Nyjah Kennedy last year. Some say they're a little bit unlucky to draw Jordy Ball this year in this regional.
Well, and then the super is matched up with Tennessee and Carlin Pickens, who is the 2-time SEC Pitcher of the Year. So really, it's just a complete trifecta of the best pitchers in our game that LSU has been matched up with Kennedy last year, Jordy Ball, and Carlin Pickens. I mean, those three right there are at the top of everybody's list when we talk about the best pitchers in the game right now.
That being said, Beth Torina and her offense have been up to the task this year against some of the best pitchers in the country. This is lined into left and down for a base hit off the bat of Sierra Daniel. And the leadoff hitter is aboard for the second consecutive inning for LSU.
Sierra Daniel has been so clutch. Talk a lot about the pop of Bajaron and Tori Edwards, and rightfully so, and of course Danica Coffey. So many big names in this lineup, but Sierra Daniel, the second half of the season, even against those tough opponents that they played in SEC, has been the one that has stepped up both offensively and defensively and gone under the radar.
Jaden Leno at the plate, corner infield drawn in. Runner goes, and a no throw from Schneider. Easy stolen base for Sierra Daniel.
That Torina putting her speed in motion too. Even a little bit of a hesitation there by Daniel. Talk about the speed of Southeastern Louisiana, but LSU has great team speed too. You're not going to see it pop up on the stat sheet in terms of stolen bases like you do with Southeastern Louisiana, but they have speed in other ways, just getting down the first base line, taking extra bases, making things happen with their speed in terms of base running, something they've worked really hard on this year.
One-two count to the sophomore Leno. Goes down looking. First strike out of the game for Macy LaRue.
You could tell that Leno was not expecting this pitch at all. I mean, just didn't even think that it was going to be a pitch that she was going to see. Just fooled by the changeup. So great pitch calling by Southeastern Louisiana to drop that changeup in at the most perfect time, as Bryce Neal now talking to Jane Leno about maybe using the opposite side of the field toward the left side as he pointed that way.
Maddox McKee at the plate with a runner in scoring position. LSU now 0 for 3 in the game with RISP. And when these teams faced each other in February, again, LSU trailed early and late in the game. They managed just 3 hits against Southeastern Louisiana pitching. And the 3 runs they scored, Amanda, came on 2 sac flies and a walk with the bases loaded. So Beth Torina's offense looking for something different this time around in the postseason against the Lady Lions. 3-0 catches the corner, strike 1 to McKee. But as we talked about, LSU feels like they have swung the bat well against some of the best pitching in the country this year. Think about scoring runs on Tegan Cavan in a highly competitive series with Texas, scoring on Sam Landry in the SEC tournament, beating Emily Lemley of Virginia Tech. That's an excuse me swing off the nub and no play at either base. That will sneak into center field. Daniel will hold at third on the throw in from Shanita Tucker. Bases loaded on the base hit by Avery Hodge. Three base hits in the inning, and that sets up a bases loaded opportunity for Danica Coffey. And now time called as Rick Freeman comes out of the dugout for Southeastern Louisiana.
Danica Coffey, of course, was injured last year. She tore her ACL. And she told me that
Coffey this year 4 for 12, 17 runs batted in, and a homer with the bases loaded. Tigers have produced with the bases juiced this season.
And Danica Coffey is more comfortable swinging away this year than ever before, because she actually couldn't slap until November due to just the torque on your knee and moving through the box. She just had to swing away, and it made her get really comfortable with swinging away.
Lays off the 0-2 from LaRue. Big moment for the Southland Conference newcomer of the year in the circle. Stepping up from the junior college level. Ahead in the count, 1-2 with the bases loaded. Coffey, chopper to first. Throw comes home. Force out is made. And Southeastern keeps a run off the board.
It's a big out to get that second out with Danica Coffey up in soft contact like that. Made a nice, easy, neat play for Maddie Watson to throw it to Schneider. Now the infield can move back. Still haven't played any bad.
Strike 1 to Jayla Lassiter. Two-year starter in center field at Ole Miss. Helped the Rebels to the NCAA tournament in both seasons. Came to LSU because she was just looking for a change of scenery. Grew up in Atmore, Alabama, and has flourished in her first year with the Tigers. A chance to open the scoring here in the bottom of the second with 2 outs.
So many of these transfers have played against their new teams, and it's almost like a tryout without even knowing it, because coaches get a first-hand look at how you play, and a lot of times the coaches grab these players who they hated playing against, and that was Jayla Lassiter when Beth Torina saw her in the portal.
She said anytime they played Ole Miss, it always felt like Jayla Lassiter won LSU's hero.
You hear about that a lot.
The 1-2 from LaRue.
Jayla Lassiter has a real big split grip going on where her right hand has moved a couple of inches above her left hand for that barrel control. Need some more top hand.
Bases loaded, full count.
Making Macy LaRue work in this inning. Already 40 pitches thrown here in the second inning.
Well, we asked Beth Torina about Jayla Lassiter. She said she has both a big heart and an uber competitiveness. Nobody fights at the plate on this roster like Lassiter. Delivers a fly ball to left field. Headed towards the wall, and it's a ground roll double to open the scoring in Baton Rouge. What a totally different start to this game than the last time these teams met in February. In that game, Southeastern led LSU 2-0 going into the bottom of the sixth.
And I think that Lassiter hit would have traveled more, but we're still dealing with this strong wind. Bryce Neal told us that anything that is to the right of that light pole out in left center just has a tendency to hit that wind tunnel and die down. Anything to the left of that light pole in left center field has a tendency to hit the wind tunnel and jet stream out of here.
Like we saw in the first game of the day between Nebraska and UConn. 3 home runs combined in that game as Bergeron draws a 4-pitch walk. And the bases are loaded again, this time for Tori Edwards. 4 grand slams this year for a young lady that has tied the single season program record for home runs with 18 in an all-conference freshman year.
I just feel like there's been so many of these situations lately in the past week or so, conference tournaments and already in the regionals, that you're having to face these best hitters in the lineup and nowhere to put them.
This is the 7th straight batter for LSU with a runner in scoring position. Early high leverage moments for Macy LaRue in the circle. Behind in the count, 2-0. For some, this might not be a very long drought. No home runs in the last 15 at-bats. But for Edwards, it is the longest drought since February. Flare into center, and that's who is among the most dangerous unseeded teams, in the words of my partner, Amanda Scarborough. Your thoughts?
Who's it going to be?
I'm putting you on the hot seat here.
You know, last year, Kieran Kumar, who's now the head coach at Ohio State, took Miami, Ohio into that Knoxville regional, and they had the same type of large number of home runs, I think 130, 140 home runs, and they didn't make it out of that regional. They got shut down. So we'll see if able to make some offensive adjustments. I don't even think that Miami, Ohio even faced Tennessee in that regional. They lost to Virginia. So Carlin Pickens versus that Ohio State offense. I don't know. Carlin Pickens just having a great year, really limiting the damage.
And don't you feel like there's a little bit of a chip for Tennessee this year? The way their season ended last year in the Super Regional, upset by Alabama on their home field, missing out on a trip to the Women's College World Series.
Yeah, anytime that you win this season earlier than you had hopes or goals of, you go into that next season with an absolute chip. I'm sure LSU feels the same way. Want to make it to the World Series. I mean, that's the ultimate goal and dream to make come true. So anytime you fall short of that, you're feeling like you have that chip next year.
Jaden Heavner, the freshman, back in the circle for LSU, has set down 6 in a row after giving up a leadoff walk to Shelby Morris in the first. 2-2 count to Kaylee Dixon in the 8th spot for Southeastern. Check swing, did she go? No, says our third base umpire, Christina Drum.
2 strikes. Jaden Heavner wants you to chase this rise ball, and Dixon held back.
Just got a piece.
You know, I think the biggest way that Jaden Heavner has grown is to just not let those free passes spiral as much toward the end of the season. When you said that she walked the leadoff hitter, I was like, oh, yeah, that did happen. I'd forgotten about it. But there were many times this season where maybe that happened in an inning or to start the game, and 1 walk became 2 walks and 3 walks and the bases loaded, where it would spiral a little bit. But that's how she's grown, is to be able to limit the damage to just 1 walk here, just 1 hit by pitch there, and be able to adjust and work her way out of it quicker.
Gets an out in foul territory, caught on the run by Coffey, 1 down. Now, to your point, you look at her last start against Mississippi State in the SEC tournament. 0 walks and tossed a 1-hitter.
It just seems like, to me, that the game that she got pulled in the Texas A&M series, where she got the start, only made it through 2/3 of an inning, and I think gave 5 walks, several hit by pitch. Seemed like a turning point for her, because then we saw her the next weekend at pitch against Texas, and they lost that game, but she pitched really well. She rebounded. Beth Torina gave her the ball again, continued to have confidence in her throughout these difficult times, and I think long term it's really paying off here at the end of the season.
Amanda, it's crazy to think, but since that Texas series, she's had 5 appearances. In 4 of those, she's allowed 2 runs or less, including that excellent start, maybe her best, in the SEC tournament against Mississippi State. 1-1 catches the corner to Shanita Tucker, starting center fielder for Southeastern Louisiana. A winding road in her collegiate career, leading her to Hammond.
Well, and when Jaden Heavner and Sydney Berzon are both on, they're arguably the best 1-2 punch in the country. A junior in Sydney Berzon, 2-time All-American, down ball, off-speed, spinny pitcher, and then the lefty Heavner, the freshman, more upspin, good velocity. They complement each other so well. It is tough to prepare for both of them.
We weren't sure who would pitch in this first game against Southeastern Louisiana. A walk to Tucker, the second of the game, issued by Heavner, and the first batter aboard for Southeastern since the leadoff hitter Shelby Morris reached on a walk to start the game. And it'll be Morris coming to the plate, second time through the order here. Tucker can fly. 25 stolen bases, 3rd in the Southland Conference this year. She fakes the steal there on a strike take by Shelby Morris.
Yeah, and this is a Southeastern Louisiana team who works on their running form and their timing. In the fall, they put an emphasis on running and the timing of the first 3 steps.
Bunt drop down in from third. Coffey bobbles the ball, and both runners are safe. And the tying run is aboard in the 3rd for the Lady Lions.
And it's what speed does to you that sometimes doesn't go down in the box score. You don't see it in the stats, but speeding Danica Coffey up, knowing that she not only has to barehand this ball, but she has to get rid of it quickly because of Shelby Morris's speed. It speeds her up, she bobbles it, and then can't even make the throw because she gets ahead of herself, knowing that speed is getting down the line.
Chloe McGee struck out in her first at bat against Huebner in the first. But this is a young lady who has been on a tear. MVP of the Southland tournament. Drops down a bunt to Huebner. Spinning throw to first. Both runners advance on the sack by McGee.
That's a confident looking throw from Jaden Huebner. As a left-handed pitcher, a bunt is always going to be a turnaround throw, a blind throw, but a confident throw by Jaden Huebner to get the speed of McGee.
Beth Torina calls time. Wants to chat this through. With the tying run in scoring position, and Maria Detillier coming to the plate for Southeastern Louisiana.
Remember, this hitter and Maria Detillier is a home run hitter off of Montana Fouts. She had hit a home run off of Montana Fouts her freshman year, opposite field in Tuscaloosa. A player that had a really exceptional regional in Tuscaloosa last year. Came up in a lot of big moments, and with first base open, likely Beth Torina's they're talking about how they're maybe going to pitch around her and want to face the lefty on deck in Sydney Schneider.
If they pitch to Detillier, she leads this team this year with 25 extra base hits. With the speed on the base paths, a double likely clears the bases and ties the game at 2. Huebner goes right after her for strike one.
Get a pitch around her, then first pitch strike.
Somehow has had an even better season this year than last. A two-time all-conference player at third base. And like so many on this roster from the state of Louisiana.
And what I remember about her at bats too in our regional and watching her is that she has a really good job of using the opposite side of the field. That home run against Montana Fouts was an opposite field home run.
Down on the count 1-2, 2 on, 2 out.
Remember, with 2 strikes, hitters are hitting under 100 off of Jaden Huebner. It's exactly where she wants them. More of a strikeout pitcher. She wants you to chase with 2 strikes. Likely to go right back to her rise ball with 2 strikes here.
Fly ball to shallow left center field. And coming in to end the inning, Jaden Leno. Southeast.
If that set the tone for the rest of the weekend, just better buckle up for the rest of today, tomorrow, and Sunday.
I feel like everybody on our air this year has been talking about the parity in the game being as good, if not better, than it's ever been. Day 1 of this tournament is proving that.
And we still have a ways to go. You know, West Coast regionals will be firing off now, and as it gets dark here in the middle of the country. Arizona and UCLA have some tough regionals too. And then Oregon, of course, the other West Coast, snuck in as a 16 seed. A lot of people didn't think that Oregon was going to grab that a top 16 seed. They thought that they would be one of the odd men out.
They, of course, are matched up with the Texas A&M regional. But this is just how important it is to win your opening game. So for all those teams that we showed you on the thrilling openers graphic, 96% of teams to reach a super won their opening game. Hard hit ball sneaks through under the legs of Watson at first, and Rudity is aboard.
And Rudity had rolled over a ground ball to third base, a soft hit ground ball. And this one, she barrels up kind of around this pitch over the heart of the plate. And Maddie Watson, who has played just about every infield position for the Southeastern team, is now at first base. Try to backhand that up the middle of her body.
LSU has led off each of the first 3 innings now with a base hit. Daniel, a bunt. LaRue quickly gets it to first just in time as Rudity advances to second. How about Beth Torino giving Southeastern Louisiana a dose of their own medicine with the sack bunts and the stolen bags? Second time up for Jaden Leno. Liner into right field. Down for a base hit. Rudity rounding second and headed home. Leno is in safely at second base, and it is 3-0 Tigers.
These left-handed hitters just really using the right side of the field, being able to turn on these pitches. They're elevated, looking like they're supposed to be on the outside corner, but they're just bleeding back over the heart of the plate. Rudity and Leno taking advantage of pitches that are crushable, hittable pitches. Hitting the ball hard on the right side.
Rare miscue in the field for Southeastern Louisiana. It's a base hit and then an error on Kaylee Dixon, allowing Rudity to score. Now Rick Freeman's out of the dugout. He's chatting with Laura King, our home plate umpire, and we are going to have a pitching change. LSU still threatening in the home half of the third. 1 down and a runner in scoring position. Leno at second base after the RBI single, scoring Rudity. Advanced on the bobble and right by Kaylee Dixon. Uncharacteristic shakiness early in this game for Southeastern Louisiana. Left side pop up, foul territory. Detellier, come on, reaching over the fence to grab it in front of her own dugout. 2 down.
Not easy to do at all. You're working around the third base coach and Beth Torino. You're trying to track this down. It's not your home field. You're reading it where that warning track is in foul territory, and then finding the fence into your teammates who gave you room in order to catch that.
She is a treat to watch. Maria Detillier.
She's a player.
I thought it was interesting. You asked her something to the effect of, how does last year's run factor into this year? And she just very matter-of-factly said, last year was last year. This is a new season. Doesn't matter anymore. We're here to win and shake things up in the Baton Rouge Regional.
Well, remember, she had never played third base until she got to college. She had played shortstop and outfield, and then came here and they put her over at the hot corner.
Another run in the third for LSU. They lead by 3 after 3.